Well, hey, partners, welcome to our video partner meeting. And it's been a while. And I want to apologize for that. We've been in obviously a crazy season as a church and in our world. We usually have 3 or 4 partner meetings a year, and one of those is usually around the springtime in May. And coronavirus just caused us to kind of keep up with all the all-church communication. So we kind of bypassed that one, and so we wanted to update you on a few things as we go into the fall as a church. So 3 things today really that I want to accomplish. Number 1, I want to celebrate with you. I want to share some real celebrations that I know it's been a dark season, a difficult season, but we just want to acknowledge that God is still faithful and God is still moving. The second thing is I want to talk about Rooted. Maybe you've heard about Rooted. We've been talking about it during the month of August, but what that means for you as one of our partners to really be on board with us through this all-church push for Rooted. And then the third thing is we have some big news that we want to share. And so I'll get to the big news at the end. So first of all, celebrations. I want to celebrate that we had 2 baptisms over the last 5 months, and that's during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we had Jordan get baptized, and she's someone who really found our church through our online services, and the first time she stepped foot in our building was to get baptized, and we have her story recorded on video. And then we had Dylan, who got baptized just a number of weeks ago, and we just want to celebrate with them. We're anticipating more people getting baptized, hopefully at Church in the Park, and then maybe even this fall as we complete Rooted as a church. In addition to that, we have 4 Hill City video stories. You may have seen some of these stories on Sunday or online, with more on the way. And so we've been really wanting to, in times where we can't connect personally as much, to be recording stories via video so that you can stay in touch with those celebrations. Another celebration is every single month we have exceeded our giving goal for the last 5 months. So since March, we have exceeded our giving goal, and that's through all of the economic, instability, even people in our church who've experienced job loss. We've been trying to meet benevolence needs as they come in, and so we just want to celebrate. Thank you for your generosity. We know for you as partners, you are some of those core people who are giving online, recurring gifts, and so we just want to thank you for your generosity and celebrate that. Another celebration is Jake was able to take a sabbatical. He's back now. This is his first week back on the job, but he was able to take a 5-week sabbatical, and he was refreshed by that. And so even just the fact that he was able to do that while we're in this coronavirus season, I just want to say a huge shout out and thank you to the worship team and production team that stepped up in that time. Jim and Deja, Kathy, Josh Elder, Maverick, and just any others even that I'm missing who really stepped up and filled in the gap. Just a huge thank you to you. And the last celebration is we have been having both in-person and online services over the last number of weeks. And if you've showed up to some of our in-person services, the attendance, honestly, has not been very impressive. I'd say about 75% of our people are still watching online, and we want to celebrate that as well and continue to offer online avenues. It's one of the reasons why we're doing a partner video for our meeting. But if you've been in person, there have been new people every single week. Every single week, we've seen new people who are moving to town, and just the fact that we're one of the few churches that has in-person services right now as people are moving to town or hearing about church, or even just, I think of some of our college students from Boise State who are just seeking God right now and just looking for a church to get connected to and have been faithfully showing up. And so we just want to celebrate and thank God for his faithfulness through this season. So that's our celebrations. So Rooted is an intensive discipleship curriculum we're going through as a church. We can call it a series. It's developed by Mariners Church over in California, and they adapted the curriculum from a church in Kenya, which is really awesome. So it's us partnering with the global church and really learning from the global church. And so really what I've been hearing from a lot of people is that the summer has really been a season of either stagnation or for some people in our church, a season of decline in their discipleship. And so for us, this fall, we want Rooted to really kickstart that spiritual growth. We hope that a lot of people, really as many people in our church as possible, can sign up for the series, and it's going to unite your spiritual practices, your small group discussion, and it's also going to unite the Sunday teachings. We'll all be in sync for 11 weeks. And And so for you as a partner, we would love for you to be an early adopter of this. We have just about 30 people registered right now. And so we would love for more of us to be registering, getting the books on Sundays, for people to see like, oh, like everyone's on board. People are actually doing this. So the first step for you is we would ask you to register. Make sure that you register. If you register in August, it's $5 off for early bird. Also, if the cost is something that's going to prohibit you from doing it, we don't want the cost to prevent anyone from doing Rooted. So let us know, email us, and we can get you a discount, financial assistance, whatever needs to happen there. So first of all, register, get a book, and then maybe even share it with people and talk about how you're excited for it, or show people the book and just kind of get people excited on board. And the second thing is to join a group. And I say join a group because a lot of groups haven't been meeting for the summer, and we know there's that social gathering cap at 10 people right now. And so even in the fall, a lot of life groups are saying, well, we don't know what we're going to do. And so I would just say for you, it's important that you don't miss out on the group aspect. Whether it's your current life group, that could be a great way if your life group just goes through Rooted together, whether you're meeting on Zoom or in a backyard or in a house or whatever. For my group, we're actually going to experiment splitting into guys and girls and doing kind of 2 different meetings a week, because those are going to be meetings of around 4 or 5 instead of meetings of around 12 or 14 type of people. Or we've also heard so many people who have just said, well, I'm not even in a group, and we're offering Sunday Rooted groups, which you could join those or encourage people to join those. But people are just saying, could I just grab 2 other families in our church and just do Rooted for the season? Yes, you can definitely do that. And so register, make sure you register for Rooted, and then also make sure you join a group, because really it's when all 3 of those areas of our strategy unite: worship gatherings, life groups, and spiritual practices. That's really the greenhouse for discipleship. That's where we start to see the power and traction in our spiritual growth. So with those things in mind, let's jump into some big news for us as a church. And before I jump in and share the news with you, just what I want to say is just the tension that our leadership team feels with the difficulty of gathering a partner meeting. We discussed, should we get people together or try and get a Zoom meeting together, and just all of this sort of stuff right now. It's really difficult. We knew that we wouldn't get great attendance in any kind of, meeting that we were show up. And to share a video like we're sharing right now feels a lot like I'm telling you what we're doing as opposed to inviting you into a conversation. And so I just want to address that tension, say that we recognize that and feel that, but also let you know, even though I'm sharing some big news with you, this is genuine, honest, inviting you as a partner to have a voice. You have a voice. At the end, I'm going to share actually a few different avenues for you to share your voice with us. But I just want to share that before we jump in to the big news. So here's some backstory. This year, one of the big items on my yearly goals was to secure our lease for 2021 and beyond. If you've been to some of our partner meetings in the past, you know that our lease ends at the end of December 31st, 2020. So our lease term is almost over at the end of this year. Now, that's been on my to-do list. We've been in conversations. The building got sold back in the spring, and so we've been meeting the new owner and the real estate representative of the new owner. So those conversations have all been going on, and the relationships have been introduced. But for us, really, the coronavirus crisis and the shutdown and all of this stuff has really caused us to take a step back and assess really everything we're doing for the sake of ministry. And just one of those elements that I've felt, uneasy or heavy about is just the large cost of our lease, the large financial cost of our lease. So our current lease payment right now is $15,940.42. That's the exact lease. And when you add utilities and building insurance and repairs and maintenance and all of that on that, it ends up being about $18,000 a month. And so we just know that that's a reality. But I think about this question that Craig Rochelle asks in a talk about anticipatory leadership. He asked this question. I think it's a really important question. If you were starting now, so if Hill City was restarting, if Hill City was just starting up now, what are you currently doing that you would not do? And then the second part of the question, and why are you still doing it? If you were starting out now, what are you currently doing that you would not do, and why are you still doing it? And for us, honestly, one of those weights we felt at the very beginning when Hill City started was signing such a substantial lease payment for our size of church and even for our age as a church. You don't hear of a lot of startup churches or a lot of church plants that have an $18,000 a month facilities budget. At the same time, I don't want to downplay all of the work that God has done in this actual space. So this building has been a huge blessing to us in many ways. All of the build outs that the Pursuit invested in this space over 7 years ago are just, have met our needs. I think of the people who have been baptized in the baptistry. I think of all the worship gatherings, all the events, all the amazing stuff, the kids ministry. So I don't want to downplay any of that. But all I'm saying is this year, when we weren't meeting for weeks, for 10 weeks, we didn't meet in this building. And even now that we are meeting, only having about 25% of our attendance, not using any of the kids' areas, I've been feeling the weight of we pay a lot of money for not using the facility very well in this season. So just been carrying that weight, still knowing the most likely outcome at the end of this year is we sign a 5-year lease, possibly with an incremental addition in our lease payment. So we know that that was kind of the target we were looking for. And then we have this meeting scheduled with our pastoral leadership team on Tuesday, July 7th. So this is just 6 weeks ago. And in this meeting, this is the final leadership meeting before Jake is going to go on sabbatical the next week. And really the goal of this meeting is let's just lock in what are we doing with the lease? We have, kind of the prices. They want to raise it by this much, dollars a month and all of that sort of stuff. Let's lock it in. Let's figure it out so we can move forward. We can sign it. We can know what we're doing for the next 5 years with our meeting location. The night before that meeting on Monday, July 6th, I get a text from David. David is a guy who works at Boise Bible College. He's a connection through there. And he asked if I can meet on Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning, July 7th, I have a coffee meeting with David. And David has been working almost like a consultant with the elder team at Capital City Christian Church. Capital City Christian Church is a historic church in the North End. It's on 9th and Franklin. It actually shares a border with Boise High School. The church building has been around for over 100 years. And so Capital City is a smaller congregation, a bit older demographic for the congregation. And they've been in a season of transition themselves. 2 weeks into the coronavirus shutdown, the very first shutdown, their lead pastor, who is their only full-time staff that they have at their congregation, had already resigned. So he left and moved to a different church over in Oregon, more of like a rural church, which fit his calling a bit better. So he moved 2 weeks into the shutdown. So for the last 5 months, they've been without a pastor. And so their elders were in this process of, what do we do? Do we do a search process and try and hire someone? Do we try and talk to another church about merging and coming into our space and some of those sorts of things? And so Tuesday morning, July 7th, David is speaking with me, and he says, would Hill City consider merging with Capital City Christian Church? Because we're in conversations with a few other congregations. We're still, kind of mapping out our plans. It wasn't an offer. It was more of, would we consider entering into conversations? And I said, well, I have a meeting tonight, actually. I can get back to you tomorrow. And so we chatted. That changed the agenda for the Tuesday night meeting, by the way. So the Tuesday night meeting, we kind of laid out all our options, and we talked about renewing the lease, upping the payment, that sort of thing. We talked about, different models of ministry and one, portable and all that sort of stuff. And then we talked about a merger with Capital City Christian Church. And by the end of the night, as a leadership team, we felt like God was leading us to say, we will at least enter into conversations. If this is a direction that the Holy Spirit is leading us, we don't want to miss this opportunity. And the opportunity and the timing of everything, with our lease being done at the end of this year and them needing, direction and vision for their church and the building and all this sort of stuff, we just said we want to at least enter into conversations with them. So that was 6 weeks ago. Over the past 6 weeks, we've prayed a lot. I pray every single day about this. We've fasted as a team. We've had just tons of discussions with one another. And we're at the point as your pastoral leadership team where we want to start moving this direction. We want to go from just talking about this to actually start exploring and moving this direction as a church. Now, this isn't me sharing this with you to say it's a done deal or we have, a roadmap planned out or anything like that. But we want to start actually moving this direction. And so we recognize there's obstacles that might be involved with this. It is an old building. It needs some renovations and some remodeling. We recognize the difficulty of changing locations. Yeah, it's just 2 miles away, but it's still, having to move and some of those sorts of things. But beyond all the obstacles we might face, what I'd consider you to look at is the opportunities. Oftentimes when there's obstacles, people really see those as a brick wall, but we recognize there may be obstacles, but we also see opportunities. One of the resources our leadership team has just started reading is this book, Better Together, and it's on church mergers. And I found it to be a really helpful resource so far, and this is a quote from the book Better Together. The two authors say this: "The potential gains of a merger are dramatic. Church mergers can multiply church impact, increase outreach, produce synergistic ministries, revitalize churches, restore facilities, offer facilities to new churches, serve communities better, and revive new hope for the future." And when we look at this potential merger, we see all of those potential gains and more. We acknowledge there might be obstacles. So an obstacle would be renovation. We're going to walk through the building, assess, what are the costs of renovation? That's an obstacle, but the opportunity is in the merger we're talking about, we would inherit the building, a fully paid off building, and we would have a secure meeting location for the future where we're not negotiating a lease that's going to go up that we don't even own that space. An obstacle would be the upfront cost. We would have to invest in making that building able to be used by us. So there might be an upfront cost, but the opportunity is a long-term financial margin. Imagine if that $18,000 or $20,000, if it might go up, lease payment was reduced to only the utilities or to only the building insurance, that we would have so much financial margin. Imagine, how much more generous we could be with missionaries. Imagine the staff that we could hire. Imagine how we could get a church resident and send money to plant more churches. An obstacle would be moving. Having to figure out actually changing locations and all of that sort of thing. But the opportunity is the local partnerships of that new location. I think about the partnerships with the YMCA, the partnerships with Boise High School. At one point in time, a number of years ago, that the elders from Capital City have actually shared that just by buying pizza, there was a youth worker at Capital City Christian who would just buy pizza once a week and had over 100 high schoolers walk over from Boise High, because it literally shares a border with Boise High, just to have pizza in the basement of the building. And that's just by buying pizza. I think about the immense ministry opportunities of being downtown, reaching out to the homeless community a lot better than we currently are. So there's opportunities with local partnerships. I think of an obstacle would be, one of the obvious ones is just merging congregations, mixing two groups of people. But I look at the opportunity of revitalizing that congregation and providing new, fresh vision and providing direction and leadership and seeing people who have maybe not been excited about church or excited about things in a long time, getting fresh vision and being excited about the future. So we truly believe that 1 + 1 can equal 3. We believe that 1 + 1 can equal 3. I know the old way that these authors talk about, the old church merger math was 1 + 1 sometimes equals 1. And at best, 1 + 1 equals 2, that you have the same amount of people, you have the same amount of effectiveness. What they're seeing now is new mergers, modern mergers that many churches are taking advantage of, especially in the COVID-19 season. You actually have 1 + 1 equals 3 or 5 or 10, and truly 2 churches can be better together. And we believe that if the Holy Spirit is leading us this direction, if God is giving us this opportunity, we believe that we can be more effective by merging. And we still have a desire to plant. I know we've shared that our desire is to grow, and not just to grow to be the biggest church in the world, but we want to grow and we want to send. We want to get church residents in here and send people and send money to other parts of our community so that there can be more churches. We still believe in that vision. And we actually think that this, I know it's 2 churches becoming 1, could actually lead us to be more effective of then sending churches from there. Think about the stability, the security, and the opportunity we would have. This sets us up to plant churches for decades to come. So here's 4 things I would ask you to partner with us in. 4 ways that you can partner with us in this big news, this idea of a merger. The first one I mentioned earlier is just to share, communicate with us. Like I said, this isn't just me telling you this is a done deal, that this is where we're going, that we really feel like this is the right direction to go. There's obviously a lot of work to go, a lot of checkpoints along the road towards this, but we want to get your feedback as partners. So we have a partner feedback form. It's a link in the email. I would ask every single partner to fill out that form. Just give us your initial thoughts about this, any questions, any concerns, any encouragements, any things you're excited about. We would love to hear feedback from you in that avenue. Another way you can share with us is I'm going to be making an all-church announcement next Wednesday at 3 p.m. on Instagram Live. So we wanted to share with you this week, and then we're going to share more with our whole church next week. You can make sure if you want to ask a public question, more of a partner meeting where you could stand up and ask a question, on Instagram Live, you could sign in and you can type a question, and I will do my best on that Instagram Live to answer any kind of public questions about this idea of a church merger. And then the third way is you're always welcome to reach out to us personally as your pastoral team. So that's not just Jake, Andrew, and myself as staff pastors. That's also Stephen Norris, Mike Gleason, and Jackson Goss as your lay pastors as well. And so all 6 of us are available. If you have our number, if you know us, if you have a relationship with us, we would love to sit down, have coffee, to chat on the phone, just to actually invite you to share how you're feeling about this. We want to open up the conversation for you. So that's step 1 for partnering with us, share. Step 2 is we have a worship night coming up. One of the first initial points of starting to move this direction is we want to get to know their congregation and let their congregation get to know us. And one of the best ways to do that is to do some events together. So we have some worship nights. Again, I will link to this in the email. And we're actually going to have an RSVP list because we don't want to have 100 people just kind of overwhelm and swarm them. We also are dealing with the COVID-19, gathering, number caps, and all of that sort of thing. So we're not just going to have one, but the first one is August 30th. It's a Sunday night at 7 p.m., and these worship nights will all be held at Capital City Christian Church. So it will be held at their space, but we will be leading the worship night. So Jake will be leading worship. I'll be sharing a short message, and then we'll just spend some time praying. And the goal of these worship nights is really to get to know their people. So to try, if you come as a partner to one of our worship nights, then I would ask you to get to know some people, to actually get to know some names, have some conversations, and to really explore, could this merger work? Could we blend these 2 congregations? Step number 3 for partnering with us is to listen to this podcast, or these 2 podcasts. The Unstuck Church is the podcast, and it's episodes 154 and 155. And this is actually really exciting for me. Another just timing that leads me to believe the Holy Spirit is really kind of providing and lining things up. This is the expanded and updated edition of this book. Guess when it came out? It came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, okay? And they took information from the past 8 years, including information as recent as surveys done during the coronavirus crisis about church mergers. So that's exciting. But then the Unstuck group, the Unstuck podcast, 2 of the most recent episodes, one is from the first author about the lead church, and one is from the joining church, the perspective of the joining church. And I know for some people, the word merger might conjure up some negative images. 2 struggling churches who get together, they disagree on a lot of things, and they close their doors eventually, right? That's not the model of merger, needless to say, that we are going for here. In fact, the reason why I'm asking you to listen to this podcast is just to get in your mind a little bit of the model or the structure of merger that we're talking about. It's not necessarily 2 equal parties jumping in and fighting about a lot of things. The way that they model a church merger is they have this idea that there's a lead church, which would be Hill City Church, and a joining church, which would be Capital City Christian Church. So we would still be Hill City Church. We would keep our name, but we would be in a different location about 2 miles away, and we would figure out a way to incorporate and integrate the joining church into our current model of ministry. So anyways, the Unstuck Church podcast, I'm going to link that in the email as well, but it's episodes 154 from the perspective of the lead church and 155 the perspective of the joining church. And then the 4th and final way that you can partner with us is pray. We say this at every single partner meeting, but we believe in prayer as a church. We want to be faithful in prayer. So here's some prayer requests. Would you pray for wisdom and discernment? Continue. Now, I know we've been praying a lot as a team, but we want to continue to pray. Would you pray for us? Pray about this decision. Pray that God would continue to lead us. Would you pray for Capital City and the elders? We know that their elder team, we've met with their elder team. I've been in contact pretty frequently with their elder team over the past 6 weeks. They're really excited about this, about us. But for their people, it's news. They're actually going to be sharing the news that I'm sharing with you this Sunday as an announcement to their congregation. Would you pray for that meeting? Would you pray for them to have the vision and the right words to communicate to the congregation there? And then the third thing to pray about is, would you pray that God would lead our steps? That God would lead our steps and for God's direction for us as a church. Even if, this merger thing kind of dissolves and even if it doesn't work out, that God would lead us in making the right decisions in this season. So we just want to say thank you for partnering with us. We want to see more and more people become disciples. We want to mature disciple. We want to see multiplication of disciples. And we want to follow Jesus with everything because he first loved us.